Good evening, and welcome to the Planning, License, and Development Committee. The hour is 6 o'clock having arrived. I call to order the regular meeting of the Planning, License, and Development Committee. The meeting is being broadcast live on City of Keene YouTube channel and channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and posted in the website by the end of the next business day, barring technical difficulties, which we never have. Copies of the printed agenda are available in the wall pockets as you entered the meeting room. The public and other city councilors will be recognized to ask questions and comment on the agenda items under discussion. After being recognized, all remarks are to be made through the chair. I will not recognize an individual a second time until everyone who wishes has a chance to speak. Anyone who wishes to address the committee is asked to go to one of the microphones in the room and identify themselves by name and address prior to speaking. Written comments from the public will be accepted at the city clerk's office until Tuesday, 1 p.m. I will now call to order the meeting of the Planning, License, and Development Committee. And also, the minute taker is participating remotely this evening. So please use your microphones, raise your hands. Thank you. Our first item on the agenda is the Keene Swamp Bats Independence Eve Celebration Fireworks. Is there anyone here from the Swamp Bats? Please come forward.
I'm Amanda Young with the Keene Swamp Bats.
Mandy, thank you for being here. We're used to having Kevin.
He's in Florida.
Good for him.
Yeah.
And this is our traditional application from you. Any changes, anything you want to tell the committee?
No changes to protocol, no.
Anyone have any questions for the petitioner?
Yeah.
Please, Bobby.
Hi, thanks for coming today. I just, since we are looking at the issue of fireworks permits in general and considering maybe making some changes, I would just like to know what your impression is of our current process of applying for a fireworks permit, and if this has been easy for you, if it's burdensome, or if there's any changes you might like to see.
Sure, I wasn't the one to apply for the permit, so I'm not sure that I can speak to that. That would have to be Kevin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you anyway.
Yeah,
Mandy, you have any questions for us?
I do not.
Okay. Anyone from the public have anything, questions or concerns? Anyone from staff? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Move to recommend that the Keene Swamp Bats be granted permission for the discharge of display fireworks on Thursday, July 3rd, 2025, on Alumni Field at no later than 10 p.m. and reserving a rain date to be determined in conjunction with city staff in the event of inclement weather. Said permission is subject to the following conditions: the signing of a revocable license and indemnification agreement, that the Keene Swamp Bats provide a certificate of liability insurance with the City of Keene listed as additional insured in the amount of $1 million, that the fireworks vendor also provide a certificate of liability insurance with the City of Keene listed as additional insured in the amount of $1 million, submittal of a signed letter of permission from SAU 29 for the use of their property, and obtainment of a state fireworks permit. In addition, the petitioner agrees to comply with any recommendations of city staff. The petitioner agrees to absorb the cost of any city services over and above any amount of city funding allocated in the FY26 community events budget. Said payment shall be made within 30 days of the date of invoicing.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Opposed? It's 4-0. So thank you very much for coming,
Thank you.
Mandy. Maybe one of us will bring this back tomorrow.
Perfect. I don't know when he's back, but,
We'll go right to Florida.
perfect.
This will be a recommendation to the full city council next Thursday.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I will let him know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 2. This is a request from Birdie's. Request for permission to serve alcohol in a sidewalk cafe. Do we have anyone here representing? I'm sorry. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Beth Wood, owner of Birdie's, Keene, New Hampshire.
Thank you for being here, Beth.
Yeah.
Would you care to, we have your letter before us.
Oh, do I read the letter to you?
No, you don't have to read
Oh,
through it.
okay.
Is there anything you want to add?
No, nope, nothing to add. Just hoping to.
Anyone from the committee have any questions? Because this is a first-time permit.
Yes.
So it's not the usual. Okay, please. City manager.
So when a business is looking to serve alcohol as part of their sidewalk license, the very first time they are required to come before council to get that permission, and that permission is then shared with the state of New Hampshire, and then they would go through the normal licensing procedures for their sidewalk cafe.
There it is. Anyone from the public have any questions or comments? No? Please, Counselor.
Thank you, Chair. Beth, will, the tables that you'll use will be against the building? They
No,
won't
they'll be on the other side of the sidewalk.
They'll be pressed
So-
out
Yep,
to
they'll
the
be
curb
exactly
side.
on the same side as Shadow and Soul Emporium and Fireworks. So it's the same width of sidewalk, and it would be exactly
Okay,
aligned with that.
all right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for clarification.
And you're aware of the 6-foot clearance that you have to leave?
Yes,
and everything
yeah.
else. We knew you knew that. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
You got it. Oh, got it? You got it.
Move to recommend that Birdie's be granted permission to serve alcoholic beverages in connection with their sidewalk cafe license, subject to the customary licensing requirements of the city council, compliance with the requirements of section 46-1191 through 46-1196 of the city code, and compliance with any requirements of the New Hampshire Liquor Commission. This license shall expire on March 1st, 2026.
Is there a second? Please?
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. So Beth, this recommendation will go to the full city council next Thursday.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you for coming. Number 3 on our agenda is the Farmers Market of Keene. Request to use city property for the 2025 Farmers Market. Please give your name and address for the minute taker.
Katie Woodard from the Farmers Market.
Welcome, Katie. It's good to have you. Once again, we do have your letter in our packet tonight. Anything you care to add or
We did
let us know?
We did want to inquire about public restroom use or the possibility thereof, as well as the benches out again this year.
Was that a past practice?
I guess there were porta potties in the past. I know there had been previous issues with them, but it's still something that we're trying to work out.
Okay, did we put anything in the motion with that?
No, and in fact, we would not recommend putting porta potties out, given the challenges we've recently had with porta potties. And in fact, the last vendor that we used, the last time we attempted to do this, has said they will not put another one out there. So I do think that that would be difficult for us to do. And in regards to benches, Public Works puts benches out in the locations that they identify throughout the downtown. But again, if we have a problem with a particular bench, and if you remember this bench on Gilboa Ave, we had some destruction also happening there. And the highway crew did a great job of coming up with a solution, which I'm hoping that they will be able to use again to place a bench in that area that won't be easily tipped over or vandalized.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions or comments for Fisher? Yes?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I presume you would like to have porta potties, if possible.
If possible, something just even if it's just for a Saturday. I don't really know how porta potty companies work, if they just deliver for one day, but,
But you would prefer to have them if it was possible,
if
could
it
be
is
worked out. So,
possible to be worked out, we
yeah.
would.
Then I'd redirect to city manager, how can we have good porta potties?
So, yeah, well, I'm not sure if we had figured that out, we've done it ourselves. The request from the farmer's market, if they want to pay for a porta potty and they want to take on the liability and the maintenance, we will certainly consider that as part of their licensing request.
Good.
So if that's the case, we can add that to your license at a later date,
Okay, great. Thank you.
okay? Anyone from the public have any questions or comments? This is getting easy. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I will move to recommend that the Farmers Market of Keene be granted permission to use 22 spaces along Gilboa Avenue and 18 spaces on the other side of the median strip in the Commercial Street parking lot from Saturday, April 26, 2025 to Saturday, October 25, 2025. Said permission is subject to the following conditions. First, the furnishing of a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the city of Keene as an additional insured. Second, the signing of a standard revocable license and indemnification agreement. Third, the receipt of a total rental fee of $932 payable on the first day of every month at $155 per month. Four, access to city electrical shall also be provided at a fee of $60 for the season. And five, obtain all necessary permits and licenses and comply with all laws and any recommendations from city staff. It's further recommended that the Farmers Market of Keene be allowed to erect sandwich board signs on city property prior to the start of sales, subject to the review and approval by city staff with respect to the number and location. These signs must be removed immediately after the sales have concluded.
Is there a second?
Second.
Katie, can I just have your last name again, please?
Woodard, Woodard.
W-O-O-D-A?
ARD.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor. I would ask the minute taker that the discussion concerning the porta potties and the benches be part of the background notes. Other than that, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. This recommendation will go to the full city council next Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, and thanks for all you do down there. Next is Copper Cannon Distillery, request to participate in the Keene Farmers Market. Welcome, please give us your name and address, please.
Blake Amaker, it's Kevin Blake Amaker. I actually live in 75 Cadogan Way, Nashua, New Hampshire. Distillery is located in West Chesterfield.
Well, Kevin, welcome.
Hey.
Do you go by Kevin or Blake?
Blake.
Okay, well.
Yeah, my parents screwed that up for me.
And I believe you were here last year, correct?
That's correct. So we've been at the farmers market a couple of years now. It's been really good success for us. It helps employ one of our employees that's local to Keene. So it's kind of an integral part of a revenue stream for Copper Cannon Distillery.
Yep, and anyone have any questions for the petitioner? You're getting off easy, Kevin. No, you're not. I called you by the wrong name.
I'm used to I've been called worse.
Does anyone from the public have any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion. I guess we're back to you, Bobby.
Okay. Move to recommend that the Copper Cannon Distillery be granted permission to sell alcohol and provide individual product samples to patrons at the 2025 Keene Farmers Market on city property licensed to the Keene Farmers Market in accordance with the requirements of the State Liquor Commission. Said permission is contingent on the following: submittal of a signed letter of permission from the Keene Farmers Market, obtainment of all necessary permits and licenses, and compliance with all laws.
there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? This recommendation will go to the full city council next Thursday. Thank you for coming, Blake.
Hey, thank you.
It must be better to throw on a roll. All right, item number 5, Cabana Falls, request to participate.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
Item number 5, Cabana Falls, request to participate in the Keene Farmers Market. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Allison Lefave. I can spell it if you need me to.
Can you please?
Yes, L-E-F as in Frank, E, B as in boy, V as in Victor, R-E.
Thank you for being here. We do have your request before us. Anything you care to add or tell us
Nope.
about?
Just kind of the same story as Blake. We've been here, I think this will be our 4th year this year, I'm not sure, can't count. But always super, super successful. We love the market. Huge customer base up here. So we're just really happy to be here.
Well, thank you. We're happy to have you.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions for the petitioner? Please.
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. I'm curious, do you actually make money on the day of the market, or is it more of an intro to your products and to develop future markets?
So honestly, we do very, very well at the market.
Okay, fair enough. I understand.
We actually
It's good to
closed
hear.
our Jaffrey location because we're focusing more on farmers markets, events. That's where we see the revenue. We're also in Hannah Grimes, so we do a lot of business through there as well. So,
Excellent,
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
So it's a lot of local money. We like that.
It's a lot of local, yes. But it's great in the market because you get a huge variety of people. It's not just people that live in Keene. You get people that are visiting Keene. They're in for weddings or whatever, and they just happen down to the market. And I mean, I get people from Texas, which then, allows them, because we ship, so they can still order from us. So it's kind of nice.
So it's outside money made local. That's even better.
Yes.
Anyone from the public have any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Move to recommend that Cabana Falls Winery be granted permission to sell alcohol and provide individual product samples to patrons at the 2025 Keene Farmers Market on city property licensed to the Keene Farmers Market in accordance with the requirements of the State Liquor Commission. Said permission is contingent on the following: submittal of a signed letter of permission from the Keene Farmers Market, obtainment of all necessary permits and licenses, and compliance with all laws.
Second.
We have a motion on the table. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you for coming. This recommendation will go to the full city council next Thursday.
Thank you so much, everybody. I
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for being here and for all you do.
Thank you.
Next up is Counselor Remy, representing the young professionals.
For this one, I'm just Mike Remy. I'm not Counselor Remy.
That's true.
Hi. Glad to be here. Mike Remy. I'm the events chair for Keene Young Professionals Network. I live on Castle Street in Keene. So wanted to come today and request permission to do our 5th annual, actually, Taste of Keene Food Festival in downtown. As Councilor Jones probably remembers, this came out of a reopening committee that the city actually put together in 2020. I think it was like April of 2020. We came up with this idea that we were going to reopen downtown in August or something, and we needed something to reopen everything. It took an extra almost a year, but the following June, when we were ready to start doing events again, the first event to happen downtown was Taste of Keene. It was perfect for that setup because it was outdoors. Everybody had plenty of space to wander around, but everybody liked it. So we decided to do it again and again and again, and now we're at year 5. It's going to be very much the same as last year. We actually have made no changes to the layout. We've made no changes to the plan for how we're going to run it. I have a copy of the notice that we give out to the local businesses that are not participating, just as notification that it's happening. And the funny part was the only thing we changed on it was the dates. So we updated the dates to be June 7th this year. Again, it's the first Saturday in June. It's from 11:30 to 3:30 is really the core of the event. And at that same time, the Art Walk folks will be operating their own event on Roxbury Street, not Roxbury, Railroad Street, and having another great event there. So it's been a really good partnership between the two organizations over the years. It's happened that way almost every year. But yeah, glad to be here. Excited to have another successful event.
And I believe Art in the Park is also that weekend too, right?
Is it June 7th? I thought they were usually the weekend before that, but maybe.
I think. The weekend before. Oh, it's the weekend before?
They're
Okay.
usually Memorial Day weekend, I think.
Mike, I do remember when this was initiated. Was it part of the Keene Rebound Committee from rebounding from COVID? And I just want to thank the Keene Young Professionals for stepping forward and sponsoring this and taking over. And it's always a great, well-organized event. So thank you for all you do.
It's gotten easier over the years for sure. I'm almost, I think, aging out here, but I will continue to support this event for as long as I can, so.
Well, we thank you and your committee for all you do.
Thanks.
Anyone have questions or comments? Please.
Thank you, Chair. Mike, will you be joining the Keene Old Professionals as you age out?
We're working on developing that. The branding's not as good, but.
The
yeah.
alumni, yeah.
Yeah.
But I do have a question. Do you reach out to food vendors outside of the downtown area and either invite them in or invite them to do their own little thing in their space?
We invite a lot of restaurants across the city of Keene. So last year, I think we had over 40 participants, and that's more than we have on Main Street. So we have folks from, CC&D's that's up on North Street. There's a lot of different vendors. I couldn't begin to name them all. Actually, I have a list in my pocket, I'm sure, but
I'm
there's a
thinking
lot.
of over on Park Avenue and then up at Stone Arch Village.
Yep, we try to invite as many as we can find. If there's new ones that have opened up that aren't on the list, they just need to reach out. So we prioritize making sure that the folks that are impacted by the traffic shutdown have an opportunity, and then beyond that, we fill in the spaces with who's outside that.
Great, thank you.
Forgot to mention, so the event, historically, I have photos of it, it's kind of fun to look at, is actually the trash from the event. So I think it was the second year, it was the year I first took a picture of it, but you wouldn't imagine from a food event how much trash could be produced. But CNS donates every year to make it a green event. So it becomes a compostable event, so all the products are supplied to the different vendors. So we went from what could have been a mountain of trash to we had one trash bag, and it was full of styrofoam coffee cups and things that didn't come from us. But one bag of trash and it was an overflowing trailer of compost, but it was at least compostable. So the Elm City Compost Group does a great job of helping to sort through that for us.
Mike, in your letter, you talk about the event and the benefits, and then
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
you have your letter and you talk about the benefits and you have some bullet points, and I just want to get them on the record because I think I like the way you did it. Draw people to our downtown business to kick off the warmer weather, put Keene on the map as a tourist destination and food hub, highlight local cuisine and beverage options, showcase the diversity of local talent and live entertainment, and welcome new community members to town. I think that's all great, and we think we could add one more bullet point, which is the environmental impact that you just mentioned. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. I had to throw that in there for the public.
I really appreciate it, and I mean, as you mentioned in there, we do have live music on Central Square. The Colonial always sponsors a show down near them. We haven't worked that out with them yet this year, but in the prior years they've done that. There's a lot of fun entertainment throughout the day, and yeah, it's been a great event every year. So, oh, and we got featured in AAA Magazine 2 summers ago as one of the featured events for the summer. So that went out through AAA New England.
We like good news.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions, comments? Anyone from the public have any questions or comments? Yes, please come forward to the microphone. And we got your name once before, but we need it again.
Sure. Allison LaFave with Cabana Falls.
Okay.
I just wanted to say to the event here, it was kind of nice that he was here, but we've attended this as vendors, and it is an absolutely amazing event. We get a lot of repeat business from it, and there's people all over that actually come specifically for this event. So anybody I've talked to just absolutely loves it. So I just wanted to say it's a great event for the town, so the city.
Well, thank you very much for your comments.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to recommend the Keene Young Professionals Network be granted permission to use downtown city rights-of-way on Saturday, June 7, 2025, to conduct a food festival conditional upon the following: the furnishing of a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the city of Keene as an additional insured, the signing of a standard revocable license and indemnification agreement, that the petitioner agrees to absorb the cost of any city services over and above the amount of city funding allocated to the event, and agrees to remit said payment within 30 days of the date of invoicing, that the footprint and layout for the event shall encumber the traveled portions of Central Square, Main Street, both sides, from Central Square to Emerald Street and Eagle Court, and a portion of Railroad Street. Road closures may include any portions of other streets needed to facilitate detour routes. The full extent of road closures and detour routes shall be agreed upon with city staff. That the petitioner is permitted to place portable toilets in city parking spaces located at the base of Washington Street and on Railroad Street in the parking spaces on the north side closest to Cherry Garden from Friday, June 6, 2025 to Monday, June 9, 2025, which will be chained together and affixed to ensure that they are not vandalized while unattended overnight. Additional portable toilets to be located in the alleyway between the former Miller Brothers and Colonial Theater with permission from private property owners. That the actual event will be held from 11:30 to 4 p.m. with the times for setup and cleanup to be established with city staff. That the petitioner is granted permission to serve alcoholic beverages samples for consumption within the event footprint, subject to the terms and conditions of a one-day license from the New Hampshire Liquor Commission and any conditions of city staff. Free parking has been granted under the provisions of the free parking policy for city parking spaces on Washington Street and Railroad Street needed for storage of equipment from Friday, June 6, 2025 to Monday, June 9, 2025, and spaces within the event footprint on the day of the event. The submittal of signed letters of permission from any private property owners for the use of their property, and said permission is granted subject to obtainment of any necessary licenses or permits and compliance with all laws and compliance with any recommendations of city staff.
Second.
Did everyone hear that, or do you need it read over? So we have a motion before us. Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Mike, this recommendation will go to the full city council next Thursday, at which time the public is welcome to attend, but there'll be no input, public input. So you're welcome to come. Thank you. Last on our agenda, we have another letter from Mike Remy, and this is potential implementation of a consent agenda by committee. Mike, the floor is yours.
All right, Councilor Remy. So this is one that I put in as a counselor. I've gotten familiar with consent agendas through boards that I've been on, particularly United Way uses it here in Keene that I've been part of. The idea behind a consent agenda is basically things that are non-controversial, that are everyone agrees, that kind of get grouped together and voted on as a pack. If there's any conversation at all that we want to have on them, they get separated out, and it's a separate conversation on that item. The examples I picked on the FOP agenda for last week, or I guess two cycles ago, was We had R 2025-05 and R 2025-06. One of them was about sewer main lining, and the other one was about sewer manhole lining. And I don't think any one of us was going to vote against either of those things. If we wanted to, we could have pulled it out of the packet. But they're examples of things that when they came back to the council, we probably could have taken them as a group, and it probably, I don't think anything would have been different than 15-0 or however many were there for that particular meeting. I don't know if this is the right thing for us to do or not. I'm going to start with that. I wanted to start the conversation on it because I know that there's, all of our time is valuable, the public's time is valuable, the public who comes to, or sorry, the staff who's here that's helping support us, their time is valuable, and us sitting here and going through each one of these and taking the time that goes to each one of them, when some of them are very routine, I have to imagine there's a better way to do it. And that's really, this was intended to start that conversation to say that while I think there are some that definitely need to stay separate, we talk about budget items, we talk about anything with ordinances, all that stuff needs to stay separate. But things coming back from committee, if you guys had 4 licenses coming back, right, we could potentially take them as one unless there was something controversial about one, in which case, you know, I'll pick on Councilor Madison could say, I want to talk about that one, and that one comes out and we vote on the other 3. So it's the idea, but just wanted to start the conversation on it.
Anyone have questions or comments for the petitioner? Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I'm just barely not out of breath after reading that last one. And so many of these that we just spend a lot of time on where they could be bundled. I understand that it's good to give the petitioners the opportunity to talk about their event and brag on it. And it would then be incumbent upon ourselves to point out when that is necessary and to speak up for them ourselves. But still, we could save a lot of time and effort on everybody's part if we were to move to a consent agenda. I'd love to see us move forward with this and recommend to City Council that we actually ask city staff to come up with an outline of how this could be done.
Anyone else? Andrew?
Thank you. I agree with Councilor Haas. And what I want to add is that we've already done a trial run with this. The day of the Christmas party or the holiday party, we did a consent agenda and it went fine. Everything was fine with it. It was one of the most efficient meetings we've ever had. So we've done this and it worked and no one had a problem with it. And like Councilor Remy says, our time is valuable, staff's time is valuable, the public's time is valuable. And one of the main barriers to a lot of people running for council or wanting to get on a board or commission is the time commitment. We come in here, we meet for 2 hours, and about, an hour and 15 minutes of that is fluff. So if we have a way or we have a method to kind of reduce that and make our meetings a little more efficient, that doesn't, reduce the public's ability to have input or reduce transparency, then yeah, I think we should go for it.
Anyone else? Bobby?
I think this will be some improvement, although it's my understanding we'd still have to read all these long motions. But those would be read at this meeting, but
At the
like,
committee meeting, they would, consent agenda means they wouldn't.
To
They'd
be clear, my
by
intent is
title
for-
only.
Yeah, to be clear, my intent is this for the council meetings. I think the committee meetings need to stay how they are, to allow proper public input and to go through the details of the motions and everything.
yeah, I understand that. I guess I'm a little concerned about not having that presented to the full council. And, I would say, at least reading through the motions, although if there was a way we could standardize some of these ridiculously long motions, that would be nice. In general, I think, that concern notwithstanding, it's probably a pretty good idea because, how many times is the important issue on that night come up at 8:45 at night when we're already almost burned out, and then we go a while after that. Maybe we'd be a bit fresher if we had some way of moving things along.
Can we hear from the city clerk's office?
May I sit with you? Sure. I really
wish I
Tell us who you are,
wasn't
please.
taking the position that I'm taking, but Terry Hood, City Clerk's Office, I'm the deputy clerk. So I understand the draw to moving in this direction. Our office does have some concerns about it. I'm just going to go through those briefly, just so we can put them out on the table and everyone can sort of understand our perspective. But, you know, our current schedule for releasing packets is very strenuous. It's already quite truncated. When we looked at what other municipalities that are using consent agendas do, they are not meeting on a weekly basis. They're meeting bi-weekly, and they're giving their council members a solid week to review these consent agenda items so that they're not inadvertently missing something that they want to talk about at the next meeting. So I think that's a concern for us. How do we fit that into an already difficult schedule? In Manchester, they use this for routine items of business, and typically, from what we could see on their agendas, they're dealing with 50 to 75 agenda items on a given night. So if they can knock 30 of those off their agenda and do them under one vote, that's a great win for them. They're probably still there until 10 or 11 at night. So, and that's not something we necessarily see here. We tend to meet more frequently, the agendas are shorter. And so we can take a little bit more time to go over items specifically. One of the other issues that we were concerned about is, although it seems like it wouldn't, it does create a burden in terms of workload, administrative follow-through on agendas, because it requires you to create two separate agendas that, right now, you would only have a 24-hour notice to review those items and decide whether or not there was something you wanted to pull from consent. From what I saw, typically these are pulled on the floor, so it doesn't require sort of an advance notice, but certainly 24 hours isn't a lot of time for you to make a decision about whether you think something warrants some further discussion. The other issue that we were concerned about had to do with the minute-taking aspects of our public record. I think we are accustomed to minutes that provide a pretty good historical knowledge and reference for the public as to what we did, and we can still do that, but typically minutes are based on spoken words, what was said at the meeting. This would be a different approach and would require some thought as to how we wanted to document things to ensure that it's clear what happened at the meeting and that the record is accurate. And then finally, we did have a conversation with the former city attorney about what he considered routine items of business on our agendas, and he gave us a pretty discrete list of the things he thought would be considered consent items. They may or may not agree with what Councilor Remy was thinking, but I'll list the ones that he provided. I'm not sure if the current attorney would agree, but she can certainly weigh in. From his perspective, routine items would be acceptance of minutes, nominations and confirmations, referral of items to a committee, ordinances for first reading, donation memos, things like the joint committee recommendation on a public hearing or rules of order or funding resolutions would all be things that he would not recommend go on a consent agenda. So I think those sewer mainlining one might have been funding, but I'm not certain. So, you know, as we looked at it from that lens, it appeared that we really wouldn't save a lot of time on just because of the types of items we see on a regular basis. We did a little analysis, and it looked like it might save us up to 5 or so minutes on a particular agenda. So, and that was just analyzing a couple years of data and putting this lens on it and sort of determining which things looked like they could fit this consent sort of paradigm. But the final thing is, I think that, one, we may lose some public transparency if we do this, so that's a concern for us. I think that that we should all think about that a little bit. And finally, if we do this, the rules of order really need to be very descriptive as to what items are have the potential to go on a consent agenda, because we wouldn't want to have discretion, certainly not on our department, but staff wouldn't want to be the ones deciding sort of what's going to go on that agenda and what doesn't. So if we can sort of figure out some of those details, I think that's something that we would definitely be willing to champion for you. I just want to make sure we all understand that there's some other considerations to think about. So, thank you.
And I think you're right about the rules of order, too, what we have to do. And I've seen it done different ways. Up at the State House, the actual committee votes after an action item whether or not they should put it on the consent agenda. And then they send it to the full House on the consent agenda. And if somebody wants it off at the full House, it takes 10 votes to take it off the consent agenda. Some places, I think such as here, the mayor is considered the chairman, and it would be his option to put it on the consent agenda. I think there's different ways of doing it, and we would have to study the different ways, the different procedures, I guess, that would make it still flow.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Michael, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to have clarifying, and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to direct it through the chair because I'm trying to follow the right process for it. The 3 to 5 minute time savings, I think, is tied to just the ones that are outlined as like routine business based on the attorney's definition, which includes minutes, the referrals, and the things up front in our agenda, which really aren't the ones that take time for us. The ones that I'm focused on are the referrals back from committee, right? The things that we're talking about tonight that are going to come back, which are where the attorney did have issue that those may not be routine items. So that's why that number is so low, I think, but I want to clarify that.
May I?
Please.
He's correct. We were using the recommendations from the attorney to make that assessment. We could certainly look at that more closely, and I'm sure that there may well be some time savings if it applied to committee reports. I think that the opinion we received was that they're not really routine and that they do require some discretion from the council to consider whether they want to move forward with those things, even though we may see a lot of unanimous votes. We wouldn't want to inadvertently pass something through that really should have warranted more discussion. So I think that's something to think about.
Terry, if you remember, when we used to do the annual sidewalk permits, we used to do it in a sort of consent agenda form. We would do all the permits at one time. And is that kind of what Mike is looking for? I mean, we don't do those permits anymore, but,
Functionally, yes, but I'm looking for a little more, those are they're all the same, right? It was like
yes,
10 of the same thing, where
Exactly.
the example I gave was the manhole lining and the sewer main lining, which are very similar but different, right? One is pouring concrete around the outside of the access point, and one is pouring concrete down the pipe. Right? I'm oversimplifying a very complex process because don't pour concrete down pipes, but that's kind of, those two are ones that I think could have been taken together, and I'm using those as a very interesting example because they would just happened last meeting, right, or the last meeting for FOP. But there are more of those like that where we have 3 grants about the same thing, or similar things. I don't know the last time any of us voted against a grant. So just things like that. I think I'm particularly sensitive to it because I'm on FOP, so we meet every cycle, and we have a lot of items, and then I hear about them again and help to present them sometimes at the following meeting. And we get a lot of items that don't go through council to get there, right? There's direct staff referrals. So we just have a lot of stuff that we're trying to work through, and to do it multiple times and not be able to group them together can be challenging when we have to go back through to council.
if we were gonna do this, I would ask that we would take the perspective of the public too, and also, like sometimes we see something, and it goes with us, like after last council meeting, I got a phone call, asked me, what is a master box? Because we voted for a master box, to approve a master box, but we never said what it was. You know, all 15 of us knew what it was, but the public didn't. So that's that would be one of my concerns also.
Yeah.
That comes with the transparency that Terry had mentioned earlier. Anyone else?
Thank you. Anything that improves efficiency for city staff, I'm all in favor of.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
Thought I did. I can rephrase that then. Anything that increases the burden on city staff, I would be totally against. But I really think there's ways where we can find opportunities to use a consent agenda. And I think that's the intent of Councilor Remy's initiative here. Let's open the door for this and explore it. I mean, if it's just saves 2 minutes in a meeting, it's a start to becoming more efficient in all our processes. Now, I'm not recommending we get a coach here in town where we're going down that path, but we should be looking at everything we do and how we can make it more efficient and work better. So I would like that we move in the direction of recommending that the council talk further with city staff, have a little discussion at council level on this idea, and see where we can make it go.
I have to ask this question. Is there anyone from the public that has any questions or comments? Just to get that on the record.
Yeah, just to say, I wouldn't mind seeing a process where after a meeting like this, we could vote to group certain things together, and that would provide staff with guidance as far as what gets grouped, and still leaves the control, in our hands. So, I mean, something along those lines. I don't think I want to make a huge change, but that seems like a small enough change, it might be all right.
Well, I just want to put it out there. We have a recommended motion for informational, but if somebody else has another recommended motion, I would entertain it.
Thank you, Chair. I would move that we recommend to full council to discuss the matter of consent agendas and ask council to work with city staff to identify opportunities to do so.
So that would be more, sorry. That would be more time, correct?
I don't think so.
Was that the way you want to term it?
Well,
So-
if I may, I think what the counselor was asking for is actually not more time, sounded like more like a workshop, because he phrased it as work with council. Unless you were talking about one counselor in particular, the petitioner, otherwise more time works, and we can continue to talk to the petitioner and the clerk's office and come back to you with some ideas as to how you might be able to group things.
Well, let's ask the motioner. If more time means it comes back here, or are you looking for a workshop, then it would be the words you used.
Sorry if I can't, I'm not familiar enough with the process. Councilor Filial will instruct me. Yeah, I'm certainly working directly with city staff, Councilor Remy, but I'd like to get information, get this idea in front of more councilors so that they can either express an opinion or take some of the workload and participate. But I'll defer to my learned colleagues on such matters. So for the moment, I'll withdraw my motion.
Move to place the item on more time.
Second.
Was this motion seconded? The original motion?
No.
It wasn't seconded? Okay. So we do have a motion on the floor for more time. Yes, Mike?
Thank you, sir.
Because you're the petitioner,
As the
you
petitioner,
can
not
speak.
as a, yeah. So as the petitioner, more time I don't think necessarily accomplishes the goal you're getting to. If the goal was to understand the will of the council or the interest of the council in understanding whether the whole group would be supportive of this or not, a motion towards more time does not get us there. It just means that the 5 of us in this room are interested in it. I would suggest something more along the lines of recommending that the staff come back with a proposal And then that would force the council to take an opinion on whether the staff should come back with a proposal on this. And that way that if this group was to recommend that the city staff come back with a proposal on how to execute this, then that would make the councilors take a position at council on whether the staff should work on this or not. How they work on it, whether it's with me, with all of you, with, you know, a representative from every committee, however that's done is a separate issue, but that would be my suggestion.
So that's an action
That's what-
motion.
Yeah. Yes.
But we have another motion on the floor right now. It's up to the motioner and the seconder if they want to rescind or not, or continue the vote.
But just a question for Councilor Remy. To accomplish your goal, wouldn't city staff need time, perhaps more time?
But
to-
I don't want them to come back to the meeting next week with a full proposal. My suggestion would be that at the next meeting on next Thursday, whatever that is, the 20th, that the council takes a vote on whether we're interested in that, not force the staff to take a action based on the will of this group. I want to know if the full council has the same interest, because we might have 10 other opinions in the room.
What would you imagine a motion like that looking like?
Very similar to Councilor Haas's original motion to get the opinion of the, to go forward with the staff to draft something for this. And then if we vote no, then we vote no. If we vote yes, we vote yes.
Very good. Through the
I think
chair,
it seems fair, yeah.
through the chair, I respectfully withdraw my motion.
And the seconder?
Withdraw.
Okay, so we have nothing on the table right now. Now we move forward with, please.
Or did you want to offer? Okay. Typically, it would be something along the lines of motion to direct the city manager to draft a policy for consideration related to consent agenda items, a consent agenda, something like that. Because it's a direction that you're giving to me to work with staff on, and then the council would decide, okay, do we want her to actually do that?
Okay, and to be clear, you wouldn't be bringing a policy to the full city council. We'd be asking the council, the full city council, do we want you to
That's
draft the
right.
policy?
Yes, that's correct.
Everyone clear on that?
Thank you,
Please.
Chair. I don't want to have you doing work until we solicit the council for full opinion.
City attorney, please.
Yeah, just to clarify, this is also, I believe, how we do other drafting things. We come in and explain, this is an ordinance we're interested in, this is a potential rule. The committee will discuss it, they'll do a motion to direct city manager, city attorney, somebody to draft it. That recommendation goes to city council to agree with. That's where the city council could talk about how they feel about that recommendation to draft. We would take all those comments, bake it into whatever's going to be drafted if it's voted and passed, and then we'd come back with something. I also wanted to clarify the language of the motion. The city clerk's office and my office are picturing a rule change for this as well, so policy is kind of a broad term that works, it's fine. But it's gonna be a little bit more encompassing than maybe just a policy. If- I didn't wanna. That's-
Years ago, we would call it handled administratively, and you would fight among yourselves.
I think I got it. Ready? Thank you, Chair. I move that we direct city administration, which includes the city manager and city attorney, to present an idea to city council for development of further direction on a consent agenda opportunity.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor. Any questions or comments? Petitioner, you're allowed. If not, all in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just, it may be that the majority of councilors don't want to separate anything and prefer to keep things under control and not go this way. So that's why I think that's worthwhile getting that opinion before we spend a lot of time on this, which we did already.
Right,
Thank you.
Yeah.
City manager,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to go back to a different item, if I may.
please.
After the farmer's market motion, I went into the audience to speak a little bit more with Ms. Woodard. And originally, their request was for the city to place a porta potty there during the summer, which I am very much opposed to. However, if they are interested in placing a porta potty as part of their license, I would like to bring forward just a little additional language at the next council meeting to have the committee's report amended.
We
if
can
you
amend
would
it at the full
like.
council.
Thank you.
Any questions on that? I said, I'm like, now we're adjourned.